Hey, everybody. Somebody turned my camera around. Uh, how do I do this? Hey, everybody. Hold on a second. Somebody turned my camera around. uh, hey, everybody. Phil and Leah was using my computer today for the live stream for the youth, and they've turned my camera around to the back, and I don't know how to turn it back. So hold on here a second. Oh, crap. If anybody could put something in the comments how I make it go to the other camera, that would be awesome. How are there not options here for this? Oh, come on. Oh, crap. Oh, jeez. Hold on, everybody. I'm trying. Oh, come on. I don't know if this is a YouTube thing or if this is a hardware thing. Wow, I'm sure glad the internet's running slow too. That's even better. That didn't change it, did it? Oh. That change it yet? Okay, I don't know what to do. There's nothing on this thing here to change the camera. I can turn off the microphone. What's this? All right. Well, okay. Here, I guess we're gonna have to have this way. Hi, I can wave to you with my hand. I am very sorry about this. Yeah, there's nothing on here that says how to change it. None of these buttons I click do anything. I'm on a Microsoft Pro or whatever Toby's got. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry, but I have no idea what to do with this. I can, Cheryl, but I can't see you, and I don't know what you're seeing. Oh, you didn't use my computer? I don't know why it's like this. It's never ever done this before. Well, this is aggravating. I didn't change anything. Folks, I'm sorry. I don't know why it's doing this. It has never done this before. So, all right, I will turn it around this way. Know that I can't see anything now, and I can't see the chat room either. So, okay. Oh, I hate this. I don't. Okay, well, guys, I guess we're just gonna have to live with this. All right. Let me get on here. All right, I apologize. We're gonna get started here in just a second. I don't know. I hate computers. So okay, okay, I can see myself here. Okay. Hello. Okay. Okay. That's what I was working on, and I. Okay, so you can. Am I lined up right now? Okay. Okay. All right. We're just gonna go with it like this. All right. Thank you. Yep. Bye. Okay, guys, this is awesome. So here we are, 10 minutes late. Sorry about that. I have no idea what changed. I turned my computer off last night when the thing was over, and I just turned it back on now, and for some reason something's different. So, oh, this is weird. I'm like watching myself in the past. All right, I'm not going to look at that because it's confusing. All right, we are on chapter 3.1. And on chapter 3.1, because now we're on phase 3 of the prayer cycle. And the way this works is now we're talked about search me. We've talked about break me. Now we're talking about send me. So when you go through this process and you're growing and coming to terms with what's going on, you eventually got to do something with it. I mean, it can't be the kind of thing where it just happens and you kind of sit there with it and you say, gosh, wasn't that fun? Or man, wasn't that terrible? You eventually get to the point where you have to, it has to mean something. And that's when we get to this part of this part of the prayer cycle is when we say, okay, now we've gone through all this thing. Now I have to go somewhere, and that's when God sends us. Now, if you read the chapter, you know that what he talked about at the first was a section from John F. Kennedy, and John F. Kennedy, as most of you know, was the president of the United States who gave a speech, and obviously Craig's dad was a huge fan of John Kennedy because he was, a big fan of the speech and really loved the speech a lot. And the famous phrase is, "Ask not what you can do for your, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." And that was the lesson that John Kennedy taught the nation. Everybody was very excited about that. Everybody was, a part of what was going on, and that helped everybody see that there's got to be more than just, selfishness, and more than just pettiness, and more than just, getting out of it whatever I'm going to get out of it. Everybody decided there's got to be more to it than that. So, all right. Of course, the internet's going down. I hope you guys are still getting this. It's being real choppy on my phone, so hopefully it's working for you guys. All right. Now, one of the things he says in what do we hear? The second paragraph. He says, even as a boy, every time I heard Dad describe that scene and say those words, he says, I felt inspired. Even as a boy, every time I heard Dad describe that scene and say those words, I felt inspired. Based on this sentence alone, what kind of relationship do you anticipate that Craig had with his father? Based on that sentence, even as a boy, every time I heard Dad describe that scene and say those words, I felt inspired. I'm going to attempt to get in the chat here. Tell me about the relationship between Craig and his father. My goodness, the chat on my phone is way behind live. All right. Trina, Joyce would like for you to call her tomorrow, apparently. What do you guys see as the relationship between Craig and his father? Okay, Cheryl, there clearly was a great amount of respect. He clearly respected him. And you can tell by how he told that story. They shared values, Kim. I can see that. Shared values and had a lot of respect going back and forth. How important that was to them. The fact that Craig remembers him talking about something inspiring that a presidential candidate said, I think that's very important. Trina looked up to him. Honor, that's probably true, Candy. Okay, yes. We can also see the father was looking to inspire the son, Darren, and I know you know a whole lot about that with your two boys. So there's a lot of so clearly there's a lot of respect. And again, and I don't mean to keep going back to this, but you can remember we talked about last week when Craig went through the season of being broken. The thing he was the most broken about was the fact that he had a relationship that he thought was on equal terms, but it turns out that wasn't how the relationship was working. It changed, and it became something deeper, something more important. And at the end of the day, that's what got him in trouble. And I think the reason for that is Craig had a history, and again, this is not a bad thing at all, but Craig had a history of having great, very equal relationships with people, and that's kind of how he expected things to go. My guess would be Jason, we talked about last week, did not have that experience. He was used to unequal power dynamics, and again, that's what kind of ran him into trouble. So I think it's interesting that he starts off week 3 of this by going back to talk about his father, given the fact that, and again, I'm not saying his dad did a bad job. I'm not at all suggesting that. But what I am saying is that just his background, his expectations kind of got thrown off, and that's what ended up causing the problem later. And again, please hear this. I'm not saying his dad screwed up. I think his dad did a fantastic thing, inspiring and working with his son. And I would encourage all of you fathers to do that with your children. Absolutely. But it was that history of, how to approach relationships and how to approach people that ended up becoming the problem. And so I almost feel like, I don't know if Craig, he doesn't say it in this chapter, so I don't know if he did this on purpose, but I almost feel like the fact he's talking about his dad and teaching us about what a great relationship he had with his dad, I almost feel like this is the story of Jason going full circle. Okay, so he was used to equal relationships, and then he had this bad experience with Jason. But we talked about Paco yesterday, and how he and that man had a great platonic, equal relationship, and then and now he's back to his dad. So now we kind of see where Craig's history comes from on that. And to me, when I was reading this, that really felt to me like it was that whole situation going full circle. All right. So having said all that, he was talking about here about what God was going to ask him to do in the midst of that. We'll take a quick look at the chat here. Okay. All right. So what if he does take John F. Kennedy's famous saying and he kind of turns it toward the Lord. He says, rather than asking God to serve us, what if we told God we were available to serve him? Rather than asking God to serve us, what if we told God we were available to serve him? Do we ever pray that prayer? I mean, legitimately, do we ever pray that prayer? And the reason I ask is because I found this chapter to just be amazing. I enjoyed this chapter so much. Is why I'm sorry we're having to talk about it in this stupid situation. But I really love this chapter. In fact, as I was reading it and as I was thinking through it, I really felt like I could have wrote this chapter. I really felt like this is something I could have written, because I feel like I've said this to a number of you. And I know I have felt this myself, is that we want to be real careful about not seeing the selfishness or the potential selfishness of praying. And that's why I think it's really important for folks to identify that, because if we don't, prayer can very quickly become the story of Aladdin. Y'all know the story of Aladdin, right? Aladdin rubs the lamp, genie jumps out, starts granting wishes. And I think sometimes we look at prayer as that kind of experience. I bow my hands and I kneel and I bow my head, and God starts doing stuff for me. And I'm not saying that there's not a time for requests, but I am saying that prayer can't be just that. The prayer can't be just that. And I found this to be amazing as I'm here on the next page. I highlighted a whole paragraph, as you can see here. And I highlighted this whole paragraph because I want to read this to you. Now, this is a little bit cumbersome, but I highlighted it because I want to read you this whole paragraph, because I think this encapsulates how a lot of people conceive prayer. And so let me read this paragraph to you. And he's writing from his own perspective. He says, I consider it a privilege, an honor, and a joyful responsibility to pause and lift up a need before the throne of God, asking him to have mercy, to move, to guide, to protect, to act, to do a miracle for people that I know and love. Each week, someone asks that God would heal their loved one from cancer, help a neighbor find a job, or restore a hurting marriage. Students request prayer to get into the college of their choice, to help pay for that college, or to deal with the pain of their parents' divorce. Some people pray for a spouse. Others ask for help to forgive a person who has hurt them. Some cry out for peace during a severe trial in life. Parents pray for teenagers succumbing to drugs. Men, and sometimes women, ask for help in fighting addiction to porn. Both pray for healing from shame. Great prayers. Here's my concern is that this is it. This is prayer for a lot of people. And I'm going to be honest with you, that concerns me. And I feel like if this is all prayer is, it's one-sided. It's one-sided. Because in that whole long paragraph, and that's the reason I read the whole thing to you, in that whole long paragraph, it's all about, here's what I see going on. Here's my concern. Here's this thing I'm concerned about. Here's this thing I'd like to see better. All these things. It's all there. And again, there's nothing wrong with that unless it stops there. And that becomes a problem. Because he even says it here. You skip down another paragraph. He says, God, do something for me. Do something for me. And I'm afraid that's what prayer is for way too many people. That is, God, do something for me. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to switch over to my phone, so I'm trying not to get confused here. Tell me, what is the problem with prayers that stop there? What is the problem with prayers that stop at God, do something for me? And Cheryl loves the song Oceans. Who doesn't love the song Oceans, right? What is the problem with prayers that are only about God doing something for me? Okay, Cheryl, exactly. There's no gratitude in that, and that's a problem. There's no gratitude in making a list of demands. Very one-sided. It's not a relationship. I mean, can you think of a single other relationship where you do all the demanding, where the relationship is healthy? Answer is nope. There ain't one that exists. Relationships are give and take, Darren. You got it. Cool Hand Luke says, when you ask for something specific and only that, you set God up for failure if it doesn't happen. Bingo. I mean, it's about saying, God, I did ask for this. I mean, one of the analogies I think of when I think of prayer chains and all these things is like, well, God, I put this on Facebook. I got 1,500 likes. I really feel like you have to do this now. And I also, are you comfortable with the idea of a God going, I was going to let this kid die of leukemia, but you did get 4,000 likes on Facebook. Maybe I guess I'll let him live now. I mean, what kind of God is that? I don't. To me, that seems very harsh. Janine says, one-sided relationship, absolutely. Teresa says it becomes more about getting praised, getting than praising or seeking His will. That's right. Because if it's all about asking, you've already decided what's going to happen. Kim says she likes the acronym ACTS. Adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and supplication, and then it's not all about me. That's a good guard. Joe Sutton says, drive-through window faith. Yeah, how many of us want to drive up to God's drive-through window and be like, yeah, I'll take 3 blessings and 2 healings, and I'll finish that off with a guidance. I'm just not sure it works that way. April John says, we aren't asking for what we can do for Him and serve Him. Again, that's exactly correct. And the kind of thing where we're only making demands. I have to use that word. We're only making demands. The idea is it's all about what we can get out of this. And look at the difference in the world between the 1960s when John Kennedy was around and the world today. And look, I know everybody always thinks the world's doing nothing but getting worse. But think about the mindset of people. And when we had a president saying to us things like, ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Man, leaders don't speak like that anymore. And it's a shame. And, I really wish that's how our leaders would speak to us. Cool Hand Luke says 4,000 likes. God only wants one. He one like. He wants yours. Yeah, he may want that one like, but I don't know what he's willing to do for it. That's the question. So, yeah, and that's what it is. And if prayer gets reduced to, well, God, here's what I want you to do. That's not much of a prayer life. It's not much of a relationship at all. And I think y'all nailed that. So, all right. So what if? I mean, you all know how much I love playing the what if game. What if instead of asking God to just, God, will you just do this? Will you just make this happen? Instead of going to God, with our demand and saying, okay, God, here's what I need from you. I need an initial here, sign here, and date here, and God, social security number, credit card information. I mean, instead of going to God with this kind of prayer request, was like, here, God, do this. What if we prayed the dangerous prayer? I mean, that's where we've been the last 2 weeks. Think about what the last two phases have been. Two phases ago, we talked about God searching us. I mean, how much searching us are we allowing God to do when we're going, hey, God, we're just going to call this one in? Or, God, we're going to roll down the window and scan down the chart and make some orders here. Then we're going to drive up to the window and pick up what we want. How much searching is going on in that situation? Answer, none. The next one is break me. Good grief, there's none of those prayers in there about God breaking the parts of us that are, maybe getting too much attention, the parts of us that are taking up too much space, the parts of us that are hurting too many people, or perhaps not allowing us to grow, or perhaps chaining us to our comfort zone. There's a lot of leeway in there to do nothing, to accomplish nothing, to go nowhere. Because basically those demanding prayers are, I'm going to sit right here in my super comfortable chair with my Afghan here on the back, and I'm going to just let God roll in the blessing. Just roll it in. And that's not how it works. And if we expect it to work that way, you are inviting disaster into your life. So, yeah, Candy says, be careful what you pray for. That's true. And I think you should be careful what you pray for, but usually in the opposite way of what that cliche means. I think you should be careful what you pray for and how much time you spend praying about yourself in selfish ways, and how you can pray about yourself in global ways. Because I don't know if we pray. Look, I don't pray enough of those prayers. I will tell you this. This study has forced me to get a whole lot better at it. When I sit in my great-grandmother's chair up in my room, and I got my journal there and I'm journaling, I've noticed, the last couple of weeks has gotten a little deeper, Instead of praying that God would, God, please make the sermon make sense this week and don't let it bore too many people, prayers have switched from that to, God, here's some very personal things, and here's some hurts I have and some regrets I see and some potential failures and things I'm concerned about. And I've noticed that, and that's all because of this study that we're doing. And I know I keep saying this, but I'm so happy that you guys have been here to be a part of this with us, with me, or with us, I guess. Because I think that prayer should be one of the most fulfilling things that we do. And just like any spoiled child whose demands are never satisfied, if we try to relate to God that way, we're never going to be satisfied either. We're never going to get anywhere that we want to be. Cool Hand Luke says, it's easier to ask God for something and him not deliver than God asks us for something and we don't deliver. Let me think about that for a second. You may have a point there, because I think I've been relatively proficient in my life about having God, put demands and instructions on me and me screwing them up. I've been pretty good at that. On the other hand, when it comes to me setting expectations on God, I have found that to be tremendously easy. And to be able to put that out there and just have these radical expectations of God. And, well, the next question that Craig puts out here, he says, what if instead of always asking God to do something on our behalf, we dare to ask God to use us on his behalf? Let that question resonate with you a little bit. What if instead of always asking God to do something on our behalf, we dared to ask God to use us on his behalf? I mean, that's a dangerous prayer to say, God, I want to fit into your plan. I want to live by your vision, which is going to surpass mine in every conceivable way on every day. And to be able to live into that kind of broad approach to life. Have you prayed that? I'll put that question to you. Have you been willing to pray that? God, use me on your behalf. Because a lot of times, jump in the chat and tell me that, and I'll take a break here and get on the chat room and see. I think a lot of times we take things for granted and we say, God, I want you to use me on your behalf. But the sentence doesn't stop there. The sentence goes on to say, I want you to use me on your behalf in these various ways and to do these various things, specific things. God, I would love for you to use me on your behalf to make me rich enough to fund a mission project or make me, give me the great gift of being a great speaker that I can stand before a congregation and help them experience your presence because of how well I'm able to speak or communicate your truth. Or we think, a lot of things. And we say we're doing this to serve God's purposes. And honestly, maybe we are. But be careful about doing this, but put yourself in God's place for just a second. How happy are you when somebody in your life comes to you and says, hey, I would like to do this very specific thing for you in this very specific way, and I want you to help me do it? How excited are we about that? Think about that while I'm jumping in the chat here. Lord, help us to be your hands and feet. That's usually a good thing. That's the way servants do it, right, Candy? Cheryl says, yes, we have to make sure we are not meaning that he is supposed to just put something easy. Exactly. Sometimes we want God to, hey, God, can you sprout some low-hanging fruit for me here so I don't have to, get too far outside of myself to make this happen? I feel like those prayers of God, use me is more like, God, make me unable to fail and help me to be able to, do this, say this, be that, experience this. Whatever, and I feel like sometimes that becomes self-serving, and we want to be real careful about that. So, all right, I got a couple more questions. I'm skipping on for those of you following along. I'm going down, and I'm still in the same paragraph where he talks about what if we had the courageous faith to surrender our whole future, beginning right now, to God. What if we had the courageous faith to surrender our whole future, beginning right now, to God? What if we were willing to put that out there? I give up every day between today and my funeral to God. That's a big prayer. I'm not asking you to say whether or not you're willing to pray that prayer. I'm not asking you to put that in the chat. But I am asking you this question because, and in fact, we're going to come back and revisit this question here in a second. What if the whole church, and I don't mean Wayne Street, I mean capital C Church, I mean Church Universal. What if the whole church prayed this prayer and legitimately meant it? Listen to the prayer one more time. What if we had the courageous faith to surrender our whole future, beginning right now, to God? What would happen to the church? And what would happen to churches if the capital C Church would join together and pray this prayer and legitimately mean it? How would things change? Yeah, Candy, I think it would be pretty amazing. I'm sorry, I can't watch that chat because I'm way behind. I'm way behind real life here. Yeah, it would be amazing because the church would become what it's always been designed to be. A lot of people agree that the church is a service organization, and truly we are. I mean, at our core, that's what we are as a service organization. Unfortunately, a lot of people confuse what that means. They think by a service organization, they mean I'm getting served. And a lot of people don't ever want to move on beyond the seeker status, and they've got to have a conversion experience, every couple of weeks. And they have to have these experiences, and they've got to have ministries for them and the exact small groups they want to have. And the church has to be available to help them financially often. And they never get beyond that because they are a consumer coming here. And that can be very dangerous. And it avoids, those folks avoid praying any prayer like this. The world would be a better place. I certainly agree with that, Trina. Cool hand Luke, looking back at my low point, it wasn't my prayer. He was the only option I had left. I took it. He led me here tonight 10 years later. Rough road, though. Yeah, that Luke, what you're describing is the breaking portion of this, which is what we just did. Sometimes the best way, and I'm not recommending this to anybody, but the best way for us to begin moving into a better place in life, to start that upward trajectory, is to bounce off the bottom. Bounce off the bottom of life. Hit the ground so hard that you actually bounce going back in the right direction. And, usually we can only see that in hindsight. And I'm not saying, everybody, hey, let life bottom out and see what you bounce. That's not what I'm saying. But I know a lot of people who've had, great conversions, had their whole life turned around. That's the story they tell. Is life just became so off that I hit the bottom of life, hit the bottom of the world so hard it bounced, and it got me going back in the right direction. Yeah, Candy, who served the church for a number of years, says, "But I want to be fed." Oh my word, I don't ever want to hear anyone say that, and I know you don't either, Candy. Because that's what everybody wants. If I'm not getting fed, if the sermon ain't exactly right, if the music doesn't touch me in a certain way or whatever, man, people can be really fickle around that kind of stuff, and that can really really hurt. Janine said a lot of giving would be going on, no starvation, no lonely people, etc., etc. Janine, I think you're exactly right. I don't think that the problems of our world today are too big for the church to conquer. I just don't think the church is trying to conquer them. I think that's the problem. I think if we really went after these things, we could beat them. Cool hand Luke. Yeah, you're there, buddy. Darren says, it's when you have the most faith in God because you have the least whatever else. Darren, well said. Sometimes that bottom of the world perspective is all about gaining perspective. And it can really hurt, but it also becomes a very strange thing, because sometimes at our worst moments is when we have the most clarity. Too much, Joe. Too much of the focus is on the serve us rather than the service. Man, that needs to be on a bumper sticker or something, because I think you got it there, Joe. And that's where we are. And yes, Darren, I absolutely remember Miss Mary and her toaster. Yep, and I remember you guys went out and bought one, which was very cool. For those of you who don't know, Darren and I, a number of years ago, led a group down to New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina recovery. And we met a little lady, I say a little lady, but she was a mighty lady. And we did a lot of work at her home. And one of the things she wanted was a toaster. And we went out and bought her one, which was pretty cool. So we were helping rebuild her home, which was just demolished in Hurricane Katrina. So let's take just a moment as we're kind of wrapping up here tonight, because this is the first chapter of the new session, and that means they're always the chapters themselves are a little shorter. Let's spend just a moment talking about what it would mean. What would it mean to pray to God, I'm available right now and will be, from this day forth? What would that prayer sound like? Because again, he writes it here, and he does this on purpose, and I understand why he's doing that. He writes it very generically. I'm willing to surrender my whole life, but he's not being specific at all. But he goes on to at least give some parameters for what that would look like in the next paragraph. He says, I'm available, I'm on call, and here's 3 things he says. I'm on standby to bless someone, serve someone, give all we can to someone. I highlighted bless, serve, and give. Bless, serve, and give. I highlighted those 3 words in that sentence. And the reason I highlighted them is those are fantastic church words. Great church words. Talking about blessing, talking about giving, talking about serving. I mean, again, great church words right up there with fellowship and all these kind of things that we say that you don't say anyplace else. What I need all of you to do, how many I got here now? The 33 of you who are in the chat right now. What do those 3 words mean to you? Bless, serve, give. What do those 3 words mean? And when we use them, which direction are they going? Is it bless, serve, give to me? Or is it bless, serve, give to others? And I'm afraid that the only time we use those words, if we're not careful, is going in that direction. It's about stuff coming this way. And I think we as a church and people like you good folks who are here in this study tonight, take some time to really give some thought to that. What do those 3 words mean to you? When are those 3 words the most wonderful? Bless, serve, give. When are those 3 words the best? Because you already know the answer. You know it. You know the answer. Bless, serve, and give are always better and more fulfilling when they're going that direction, away from us. You already know that. That's not some great, wow, Pastor Tim, I never thought of that. Nobody's saying that. Okay, you already know that. The question is, how often do you practice that? You know it. I know you know it. All 34 of you, you're bright folks. I know you know it. How often do you practice it? How often do these 3 words become real? How often are they wonderful? I'm yesterday, I think it was last night. Actually, I think it was during our meeting last night. I got an email from Josh Barnes, and you guys make sure look, come to First Light. First Light is awesome, but I love First Light, and I'm very touched by the traditions. That's the kind of church service I grew up in. But on Sunday, you don't need to stay for the sermon, but come and experience what the band is putting together. Josh sent me just a short clip of how they're doing the music this week. It is amazing. I watched that clip 4 or 5 times today, and all it is little snippets of songs that they're doing. It's amazing. It is such a blessing, and it's going to be Easter Sunday, and everything is stupid right now because of COVID-19 and whatever. And I know that this may be one of the more memorable Easters you've ever had, but for entirely the wrong reason. Phil and Leah didn't get to make the peanut butter eggs. The kids aren't going to be leading sunrise service. There's a lot of stuff wrong this week. And a lot of stuff is not what we wished it was. But I got to tell you, I was truly blessed by what I saw in that short video. And I am excited for them to share it with you on Sunday. To me, and I'm not even going to sit here and try to speculate how much time it went in for them to create this thing, especially on Josh's behalf. Everybody send Josh a text and tell him thank you for what he's doing. But I just want you to know that if we could have everybody make the kind of sacrifices that our musicians, and I'm talking First Light and Awaken, have made since this nightmare started a month ago, just to be able to create for you guys and share with you guys some music. Again, not in the ideal format, but in the best one we have available. To me, that is them blessing, serving, and giving to all of us. And it is amazing. And I think it's a great example of what we're talking about here tonight. You know, that those 5 people for Awaken, and then Daryl and Gene have decided that having something to give to you was worth the investment they made. I don't know if they thought that while it was happening, because I can't imagine it was easy. But we are all going to be beneficiaries of the investment that they have made, and by George, are we ever blessed? And it's only because they have it, and it's. I'm going to get worked up here. It's amazing watching this happen, because there's so much right now that's wrong. My word, there's so much that's wrong, and it's frustrating, and it you know, we're all sick of the technology, and I'm sick of my stupid computer that's filming out the wrong camera, and I'm sick of not being able to go to the gym, and I'm sick of not being able to work, and I'm sick of not being able to go visit, you know, or do funerals or all this stuff. I'm sick of all this stuff. And you know, it's to the point that you know, now we're all starting to ask questions if we're ever going to go back to what things were. But you know, these 3 words, bless, serve, give, I can still do them. Maybe not as well as I used to be able to, but those things still exist. And to be able to, you know, have folks share that with us, and have you folks share it with each other, guys, we are doing what the prayers have said. You know, we could all just as easily be doing nothing tonight, you know, sitting around watching some Netflix show we've already seen. We could be doing that tonight, but we decided to be together. And I was so angry, I almost turned off the computer and gave up on it tonight. But you know what? I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been wrong. But and I'm going to figure out how to get this thing turned around for tomorrow night. But we're working, because along the way we have decided we want to bless, serve, and give to each other. And quite frankly, we're only going to get through this thing in that way. So I have no, I'm in full on ramble mode now. I have no idea where I was even going with this, but friends, this is about being sent. And right now it's kind of weird to talk about being sent, because we can't go anywhere, but there's still a mission field. We're on it right now together. You know, you are ministering to me. Some of you, at least I hope, were laughing at my dumb luck with my computer messing up. But you know, that's how it works. So that's going to be my challenge for you as we kind of finish up phase 3 of Dangerous Prayers, is find out how you can bless others, find out how you can serve others, find out how you can give to others. I even saw my man Cool Hand Luke jumped on Instagram today and gave a shout out to me, making a donation to the Senior Citizen Center. Man, that's awesome. And I'm not saying it's awesome because you tagged me in a post. I'm saying it's awesome because you did it. And I know that all of you are being a part of that in various ways. And that's all about being sent. Being sent, even though you're not going anywhere. But you're being sent into mission, and that's what this is about. This is about aggressively searching out ways to serve. You know, I watched the band do it this week. You know, I watched Daryl and Gene do it this week. I watched a number of you through social media posts do it this week, and I appreciate it. So, all right, let me. I have no idea where I'm at here. Let me try and see what the last thing was here. Serve plus give equals bless squared. I like that, Cheryl. Yes, we're blessed when we give and when we serve, Trina. You learned that this week over at the Senior Citizen Center. Yes, Randy, you are in a very much a service industry, working in nursing, and I'm sure that you find that out. Joyce, Joyce, you're a both service person. I always knew that. Josh is amazing. There's no question that. April Johns, who is one of the people you'll be seeing singing in that band presentation for Sunday, and yes, and April, you're just living out what we talked about this, But what I've been rambling on about for about 20 minutes now is you were willing to step outside yourself and deal with frustrating technology to try to bless others, and that happened because you're willing to stick with it. And thank you for doing it. So, Joe Sutton said, "Lord, I'm at the end of me. I have nothing left to give myself unless I start giving to others. All I have." Uh, I don't mean is that a song lyric? That's a great expression, Joe. Um, that's um, that's a great way to look at it. Think about it. I obviously have the lid on this bottle, but if I turn it over with the lid off of it, eventually all the stuff's going to run. There's going to be nothing else coming out, and sometimes when we get to that point where the clay jar of our life is turned upside down for too long, and there's nothing left to give in there, we got to dig deep and let the Lord fill us with something to give. And that's what happens when we get to the end of ourselves. And oh, man, Marion, thank you. Thank you. I'm doing the best I can with what I have to work with, and my computer is pointed backwards right now. So, all right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order here? Sorry we got off to a rocky start tonight. I'm glad I didn't give up on it. I was about ready to shut it down and say we'll come back tomorrow night and try it again. I'm glad I didn't do that. So, anybody else got anything for the good of the order? Is it going to storm again tonight, Cheryl? And all right, pray us out. All right, yeah. Just a quick announcement. I think I'm going to for Good Friday, or maybe for Monday, Thursday. I guess I still haven't decided what I want to do yet. But tomorrow, I tell you what, I am deciding right now. Tomorrow night, please come back and join us. We will close our time together tomorrow night with communion, since it is Monday, Thursday, and that is the night that it came from. So make sure you get your elements out, gather your family if you'd like. When we get to the end of the study tomorrow night, we will have communion, and so have the elements ready and all your stuff together, and we'll I will see if I can get my mind around a way we can do this meaningfully in this format. So I'll work on that for tomorrow, and so make sure you've got your crackers or whatever you want to use in your juice or whatever, and we'll have communion tomorrow night from Monday, Thursday. Tomorrow, obviously we'll deal with Craig's chapter, but we'll also talk through some of the typical Monday, Thursday stuff. So that's for tomorrow night. So thank you, Linda. I do try. So. Hey, I appreciate you all very much, and I love you all dearly. I look forward to this time all week. I hope tomorrow night to have the computer pointed the right direction at me. I'm going to see what I can do about that. I love you all very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this study. I wouldn't be doing this without you. So I appreciate you all logging in. I hope you'll come back tomorrow night for our Monday, Thursday session. And yeah, keep in touch. Drop me a text or whatever. Let me know how things are going. And I miss hearing from a lot of you. So love you all very much. Have a great night. And y'all know what you need to do now, right? Go wash your hands. Have a good night, everybody.